think it's a load of shit. I really do. It's a shame. Hello and welcome to Going for Goldbridge. We're back again with another week and I'm feeling upbeat and I want to get through loads of questions because I think last week we got swamped in is he doing it, is he doing it? Well, I just want to get into Going for Goldbridge today. I want to answer lots of questions. That was what we're here to do. But I just want to say, from a football answering question, obviously Manchester United lost to Arsenal at the weekend, but rent-free in AFTV head is, I should have a t-shirt, but it's, if I take this off, all I am is a floating head, look. Oh, I'm just a floating head. I'm a floating head, hello. But no, I'm living friend, I'm a floating head in AFTV's head, but enough of this nonsense. Only Arsenal fans can win a game of football and still take the L. They absolutely got the L, didn't they? I mean, I'm disappointed that United lost the game of football, but what's happened after it has just been hilarious. So, good stuff there. But let's fly into some of your questions, because that's what we're all about. Filming Going for Goldbridge. Remember on Twitter to follow me at Mark Goldbridge, get your questions in. And I tend to go for the ones with the most likes, but I don't always do that. Funniest reaction to scoring a goal for me has to be spitting my tea on the floor, taking my top off and knee sliding out the front garden. This was only 5 months ago. And that was watching, that wasn't even a big game, I take it. But funniest reaction, you know what? The funniest reaction for me personally would probably be funniest for you. It wasn't, I didn't really care at the time, but it was Sheringham's equaliser in the 1999 Champions League final when I was at a house party in Ireland. There was loads of us in there. You really do separate the wheat from the chaff in the last couple of minutes of a game. You know, we were going for the treble. Everyone was supposedly a United fan, and there was me, this other lad, who were just sat there distraught. Like, I can't believe it. This whole season's been magical. We're not going to win the most important part of it, the Champions League and European Cup. And everyone else was sort of like talking about going down the pub afterwards. You know, they were like, oh, it's disappointing. Not proper football fans. Anyway, Sheringham equalisers. I jumped up over a coffee table, landed badly, and twisted my ankle quite violently. But I didn't give a shit because the adrenaline sort of was instant anaesthetic. But so looking back on it, I always remember that celebration as being, you know, memorable, obviously. Got any ghost stories, paranormal experiences in your life, Lewis? Categorically, no, I'm afraid. I don't. Where in Italy are you based? Says Thogden the vlogger. Nice one. Where in Italy? Well, I'll tell you what. The closest I'm based to Italy was Papa John's Pizza Hut down in West Bridgeford when I was growing up. Because as you can tell from my Italian olive skin and dark hair, I'm definitely Italian. Look, I do have an Italian surname, real surname, but it's totally and utterly not Italian. It's from a stepfather who is full Italian. But I believe the Di Cesare name comes from southern Italy and may even have connections. I have to say may because I can neither confirm or deny because the mafia doesn't exist, does it? But may have connections with Sicily. So there you go. As you have Italian heritage, does that make you automatically like pesto pasta dishes, says Ross? I do like a lot of Italian food, and I did grow up on Italian food. But yeah, I do like pesto and pasta as well. I like a cannelloni. I love, I'll tell you what I really like. I think they call it steak pizziero or something like that, which is like steak with like this tomato-y sauce on the top. Lovely stuff. But my favourite food of all is lasagna. You can't beat it. Definitely put carrot in. Preferably grated. Thoughts on Arsenal's fan base, says Even Brady. They're just banter people. Sanders here, very obvious one at the moment, but opinions on Ricky Gervais' Afterlife. I thought it was decent, to be fair, and gets progressively better as you grow to love and know Tony. I've only watched 2 episodes. I think Ricky Gervais is a genius, an absolute genius. I think to fuse a serious matter like suicide, the loss of a loved one, and comedy is great. And I was speaking to my wife about it the other day because I watched the 2 episodes quite late on Friday night. She'd already gone to sleep. Then she watched 2 and she liked it and I liked it. And I said, look, I think it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because we know, on a serious note, one of my best friends, one of my wife's best friends, her husband, who we holidayed with, it was a good friend of mine. I wouldn't say we were best friends, and I think he would agree, but we got on really, really well when we did meet up. And he died of cancer just over 40 a couple of years ago. I did the live stream for it. We raised about £8,000 Mary Curie. It was got terminal cancer, and I'm very big on this. Look, I think I spent a lot of my life. I've spoken about this before. I've spent a lot of my life sort of scared of. I wouldn't say. Well, I think, oh, come on, let's be obvious, Goldbridge. I was scared of death, and possibly still am. But I hate the fact that it's covered up. You know, whether it's celebrity, your parents, your friends, your family. Nobody wants to talk about death. And yet, you know, when you get hit by a sledgehammer that you lose somebody close to you, whether it's friends, family, you have to deal with that. And there's no book on how to do it. Well, there are, but you know what I mean. There's no real, you know, everyone tells you how to get over a broken heart. Everyone tells you how to deal with, you know, having a baby or getting married or anything like that. But losing some of the most important people in your life suddenly, there's no one really wants to talk to you about that. So that's what I loved about Afterlife, is that, yeah, it's this fusion of comedy, which we all like, with something that absolutely terrifies us, you know, losing the people closest to you and how you deal with that. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I hope more people do that, so more of that thing, because this is something that can happen to everybody. And you know, I just loved the way, you know, he's in the bath, you know, thinking about killing himself, and the dog comes in. It's just real. It's real people, and I really liked it. Partridge versus Brent. Who do you prefer? I prefer. Look, I'm not a massive fan of the new Alan Partridge series, to be honest. I love Alan Partridge. There are nuggets of good bits in there. I thought last week the fighting scene was genius. I think when it cuts away from the studio for Partridge doing his thing, it's brilliant. I like it when Lynn comes in, but there's not enough of it. The bits with Simon are shit, but I like Psychic Simon. I just don't like the concept of this show. I'd rather have it than nothing, but I don't like the concept of the show. And you know, David Brent, I do like that. I like them both, but I think that's what people are starting to ask, really. Ever had an erection over a football match, says Josh. I mean, I spoke about this on the United Stand yesterday. I love it. I love this question. Ever had an erection? Get in! Beckham! Woof! And there it is. All 12 inches of it. But, you know, no, I love football. And, you know, there is that saying, is scoring a goal better than sex? Well, not if you're shagging Goldbridge. And only women would know about that, because that's the exclusive club. But, and there's not many of them, to be fair. But, no, I've never had an erection celebrating a football goal before. I've loved it. You know, like when we won on penalties last summer, I can think of some goals through my life, loads of United ones, a few for England. I've absolutely loved them. But I've never had a tinkling of anything going solid down there. I mean, what am I doing? I'm touching it. Why am I touching it? What am I doing? What am I doing? You don't need to touch it. What am I doing? I actually went down there. I've never had a tingling down there, and actually started playing with it. I tell you what, that is something I used to get into trouble. Not trouble for, but when I used to play football in my teens, I used to play at quite a decent level. And one of my best mates, his dad was the manager of the Sunday team I played for, and we were very good. And we used to get a lot of people watching us because we were doing really, really well. And I remember, like, all the time at full time and everything like that, everyone would stay. Whenever there's a corner for the opposition, if you're not going up for it, you know what you do? And I'm like, what? You stand on the halfway line with your hand down your trousers, playing with yourself. There you go. There's a well-known thing. I wasn't tugging myself up. Oh, so have you had? Yeah. Well, I suppose that answers the question. Have you ever had an erection when someone scored a goal? Maybe when my Sunday morning team. Some people might have thought I did. I don't know. Look, a lot of men would agree with this, and they're lying if they don't. And so you're all going to lie. But especially when you're a young lad, you've got a fascination with your tackle, and I think you do spend a lot of time, not in a sexual way, just I've done it again, just touching it, just making sure it's still there. I suppose, I don't know. It's not so not in a sexual way have I ever had a hard on in relation to football goals. They've given me the biggest highs, but not down there. And I find the question hilarious. I think it's one of the best questions I've ever had. I absolutely love the question. And I'd love to know in the comments if any of you have ever had an erection from a football match goal. And what goal was it? What gets you hard? Messi doesn't work for me. It's got to be Ronaldo or Peter Crouch. Peter Crouch scores. There's just something about his smile that gets me stiff. I mean, come on. Who's a better actor, Tom Hanks or DiCaprio? For me, I love Tom Hanks, but DiCaprio is more my genre. People used to say I used to look like him when I was younger. I used to do all right down the old Wheatsheaf pub in the old Nottingham, in the old Shire, with the old DiCaprio look-alike. I mean, considering most people looked like a broken down tractor, I had blonde hair and white skin that was actually washed and not been down the old farm. So I probably did look like DiCaprio compared to everybody else in there, but I look nothing like him. That's nothing to do with it. And actually, I've replied there. Oh, I got some replies, and easy win, says Ali. But no, I love... there's not a bad DiCaprio film. I think one of the first films I saw him in was The Basketball Diaries, which is... A lot of people won't have seen that when he was really young. Brilliant film about drug addiction. Obviously, Titanic was mainstream. It's not a bad film. I don't think it's a believable story, though. And then... just so many good films. Blood Diamond, Inception, The Departed... He's done so many good films. The Revenant. There's loads of films he's done. So yeah, I'm a big fan of his, to be honest. How did you and Flex meet? Bit of a boring question there. I will answer it. I just don't think it's good for Goldbridge. I've done the Grealish incidents. Who will win the F1 Championship this season? I'd say Hamilton. Just very, very quickly about that, because not a lot of people won't be interested in Formula 1, but I have just started watching on Netflix the new series they've got about last season's F1. Love it. Really, really loving that. It's a good series on Netflix as well. Netflix is the place to be at the moment. Some great stuff. Absolutely great. We've done, I thought that was the real DT there. Thoughts on Ricky Gervais Afterlife? We've done that. Would you ever start a channel with your real name? Best moment being in the police. Big Keith, I wouldn't use my real name now. What's this? Eat, sleep, pocket, DT, repeat. I've not even seen this. I'll keep that there for a bit. I wouldn't use my real name now. I mean, I suppose this could be. Yeah, you know what? The story around my real name, I don't want to dwell on it because it's been well told on True Geordie, everything like that. I didn't use my real name because I wasn't allowed to do it. And then a couple of years in, my real name came out, but I just got so used to using this. I quite liked using Mark Goldbridge for this. And a lot of people call me Mark within the industry. And I like that. I just like it. I'm comfortable with it. And I think if people start using my real name in the industry or I went to it, I just wouldn't like it. But whether I could do a channel in the future that has that name, maybe I could do. Yeah, maybe I could. Good point. Favourite police story? I don't know whether to talk about stuff like this, because for me, policing was about high-end detective crime. That's what I wanted to do. I never really liked or was proud of the stopping people in a car or going to car accidents or locking shoplifters up or stuff like that. You've got to do it, but they've broken the law, but that's not why I did it. So the things that I don't think you're ever proud of, because there's always victims, isn't there? But the things that I got the most reward out of were the proper investigations, the stuff that, where you've not got a lot to go on. I remember a particularly bad, they nearly died actually, and some people might say they probably wish they had died, in Birmingham city centre, and we didn't have a lot to go on, and apparently a CCTV trawl had been done of the area. I had the day off. I came back into the incident room. I was sent out to do CCTV, and I actually ended up finding the car that had done it by tracking it probably from about 8 miles away all the way into the incident. So that was a lot of work, but it was very, very, very rewarding. Most embarrassing Twitter admin Oliver Wakefield. It's got to be Arsenal now. It's got to be Arsenal. I mean, there was a few contenders, and the United Twitter can be a bit embarrassing at times when it calls mobile phones cell phones. But Arsenal's Twitter has taken the L this weekend. Star Wars episode, I think we've done that before. Definitely Empire Strikes Back. Showing us your favourite memes. My favourite clip I've ever seen of myself would probably be there's quite a few I quite like some of the FIFA ones. I saw it yesterday actually. I like the one where Davinson Sanchez scores. Oh, what a load of rubbish. He'd never score a goal like that. Never score a goal like that. That's a good goal actually. It's a good goal, actually. And then, obviously, the one where it goes over the line. I like that one because most of my memes are just reaction to something happy, something frustrating. But the one where the ball's over the line, that's just brilliant from FIFA. They obviously didn't do it on purpose, but the ball isn't over the line. And I'm like, It's not over the line. It's not over the line. It's not even over the line. And then it moves over the line. To this day, I don't understand why it moves like that. And then I'm like, that's over the line. I haven't seen it in a while. I really like that one. So if anyone's got that clip of me with the over the line, tag me in it today. And I'll retweet it because I love that one. Liam or Noel Gallagher says Lingard World. Probably more Liam, to be honest. Yeah, probably more Liam. Angry young man. Would love if you can talk about depression, where the world is currently revolve in it. NG Singta. I think the most important thing about depression is to talk about it with somebody. Don't bottle it up. Don't bottle it up. And I've been guilty of that. I think we've all been guilty about it. Sometimes you're in a bad mood and you just whatever. But yeah, I think the most important thing about depression and any mental health is to try and meet it head on and not you don't solve it by that, but you can certainly work with it by accepting it and certainly bringing it out in. I think when you bury something, especially like that, that's when the problems can get a lot worse. Did you used to play Sunday League, says Ben? Not really. I didn't play Sunday League. I played a little bit of pub football, but Sunday League, the only Sunday League I played was like in my teens, but not older. What was the moment that made you decide to start a fan channel on YouTube? I think I've told this story so many times. I was lying on a lilo in a villa in Mallorca in 2014, and I was just lying there one lunchtime, and I was just like, you know what? I love football. I'm not really getting everything I want from football, from forums and things like that. I want to try and do something like the United Stand, and it went beyond the wildest dreams. My favourite Game of Thrones actor, character you're most like, personality-wise. The Game of Thrones character you're most like, personality-wise. Ooh. Everyone wants to say Jon Snow, don't they? But no, I don't think there is one really. Which is a bit of a boring answer, but I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Yeah. Jon Snow's too noble. I mean, I think there are bits of me in him, but not totally. I think he's a bit naive. I don't think he sees the backstabbers coming, whereas I tend to do. Have you had to support any other team in the Premier League? Who would it be and why? If you had to support any other team in the Premier League, who would it be and why? Probably Spurs. I find Spurs quite inoffensive. Yeah, and I do remember the '87 Cup final as the first proper cup final that I remember. '85 when United won in it vaguely, but '87 was the first one I remember as an event. And I wanted Spurs to win, but Coventry did, so I've always had a soft spot for Spurs. Chrissy Waddle, Clive Allen, Gaza, Gary Lineker, although I don't like him much now. I've done Afterlife, yeah. Best Batman candidate. I'd like Christian Bale back, but he's too old now. Do you think eating or dry cereal is underrated? Because I do. I think it's disgusting. I couldn't eat dry cereal. Favourite holiday destination, Craig? I've been to Mallorca a lot, and I do like Mallorca. I've always liked it. I love the fact that it's only a couple of hours away and you're in really good weather. Nice beaches. Yeah, I like Mallorca. I just like its proximity. I'm sure there's a lot better places, but I've always been a big fan of Mark Goldbridge and Mallorca. Would you take Mkhitaryan back? No, Dennis, never. I've not watched the show Fargo. I've seen the film Fargo. Best non-football content creator, says Jake Green. I'll leave that to you lot. What do you think? No. We don't need to do that. As a former detective, what's your opinion on the McCanns, says Adam Brown. I don't think you need to be a former detective to have an opinion on it. Look, it's difficult because, look, my 10,000 people might watch this video, 5,000 might watch it, but it's still a few thousand people watching it who might be swayed by my opinion on the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. My personal opinion on it is, and I don't want to go into it too much, is I think there's a lot more to that story. It's a fact that the Portuguese police didn't treat it the same way the UK police would have been. There was lost opportunities around forensics, etc. And it just doesn't quite stack up. My personal feeling is, if she had been abducted by a stranger, I think they would have found that that person by now. It just seems to be that there's so much grey area around it. And that's not me saying I think the parents did it. It's not me saying I don't think a stranger did it. I just think there's a lot more that to meets the eye than that. And I haven't delved into it too much, to be honest, but I just think there's a lot more to it. Yeah, I think there is something a little bit sinister to that. Whatever that sinister thing is, I do think there is. And that's about as far as I can say, really. If you could travel to any place in the world, where would you go and why? Joshua Albinson. I really want to go to America. I've never been. I'd like to go New York. I'd like to do Vegas. I know it's a bit cliche, but I would. I'd like to do the Wild West. I'd love to do that. I'd like to do Australia. I'd like to do South Africa. I really want to do the Scandinavian countries like Iceland, Norway, Sweden. I want to do all that. I'd be very interested in like China and Japan and places like that. India as well. So there's a lot of places I'd like to go, and I need to start doing it because we're not here forever. Yeah, Zidane back at Real is just weird. Thoughts on the Leaving Neverland story, Aaron Flynn? I wish I'd read that before, because I am actually not all the way through Leaving Neverland. I've watched the first episode and the second episode. All I'm going to say about that is I made a comment on this channel when I was drunk the other night saying you've got to ask a question about the parents, like, you know, why would, and we're talking about Michael Jackson here and whether he was a paedophile or not. And all I'd said on Friday was that regardless of that, what parent lets their kid sleep in the same room as a man in his 30s who basically is clearly quite odd and disturbed just because he's the biggest superstar in the world? Having watched the documentary, I'm like, I just think there is nobody in the world, and I probably will not be anybody in the world again, with the global superstar status as Michael Jackson. And how easy is it to say, and you know, the 80s and 90s was a very different world to now, because we've learned that a lot of the things that were going on then weren't being spoken about then. So you didn't have like sex scandals and, you know, all that sort of Jimmy Savile stuff back then. Whereas now I think we're a lot more aware of it. So it's easier to be more aware of the signs. So look, I'm sure those parents feel guilty themselves. I suppose the big question is, do I think Michael Jackson was a child molester? And I think that the evidence is heavily stacked up against him, really. I think he was a very troubled man. I think he may well have been abused himself. But for a man in his 30s to be sleeping in beds with children, I just don't think, as one of the jurors said, I just don't think a man in his 30s sleeping with children that aren't his children a lot of the time was just sleeping with them in a sense of they're watching films and eating popcorn. I think there was more to it. I do. I think it's very, very sad. But I think the bigger question here is, because there's a lot of people who adamantly don't believe it, and that's fine. It's all about opinion. I think, look, even when you're talking about football, whether you're talking about football politics or anything like that, I do believe that there is an issue with modern society where people get so passionate about their opinion that they get aggressive against other people. And it's like, look, if somebody thinks Michael Jackson, based on the evidence, was a paedophile, that's their opinion. If you adamantly think it's all a big ploy and it's not true, that's your opinion. And fair play to you for having it. I think the big question is, what happens in the future? Because, you know, I look at, in our country, we had the children's entertainer Jimmy Savile, who died, and it all came out and everyone believed it. And now you don't get any programs about him, etc. That's fine. Gary Glitter is still alive. He had a bit of a pop career. No one plays his music now. So what happens? And he did time in prison for it. He clearly was guilty. But what happens with Michael Jackson? Multi-million-pound business. Sony, I think, own it. All his back catalogue of music. Made some great music, although I never liked it, to be honest. Just never really liked Michael Jackson music. Maybe subliminally I knew as a child. I don't know. Get into bed with me, Mark. I wasn't called Mark then. Beat it. I'm off. You're bad. Poor jokes. But if there is enough evidence to suggest that he'd done it, I'm sorry, I think you've got to wipe him from the entertainment business as best as you can. I.e., obviously, you can't ignore the fact that he was a pop icon, but I think the music needs to be taken off radios, and I think a lot of them are taking it off now, because I think we all feel. I think there's a sympathetic thing towards Michael Jackson, but ultimately, I ain't sympathetic to a man. If you believe what happened in that Neverland thing, he grooms one kid, they're the flavour of the month for a while, and then he gets rid of them. And these are young children. These are young children. I mean, some of them as young as 7. So he grooms them. They're his like boyfriend for a few months. Then it's somebody else. So not only are you abusing a child, you are making them love you and then dropping them and breaking their heart as well. It's ridiculous. I mean, we're going too deep into it now, but yeah, I found it very disturbing. And if it's true, can you do a Henry Kelly accent? Hello and welcome to Going for Gold. Rubbish. Absolutely rubbish that was, Mike Bat. Give me 1 out of 10. If you could have one superpower, what would it be? Says Pogba. Oh, what a question. What a question. If I could have one superpower, what would it be? Eternal life, to just live forever and ever and ever. I wouldn't like that. Have you seen the film Highlander when his girlfriend dies and you just have to keep living and living? No, don't want that. If I could have one superpower, what would it be? You know what I would love to have? You know that film with Mel Gibson in What Women Want? I'd love to know what people are thinking all the time, so that when you're walking down the street and you look at someone, you get a voice in the head of what they're thinking. I'd love it. Be brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You walk into a room and you look around and, they're not actually saying it, but their minds are saying it. Oh, here's that Goldbridge cunt. Oh, he's such a fucking wanker. Oh, I quite fancy him. And you head over to them. Unless they're a male, which again doesn't work for me. But no, I'd like to have that. That would be a good superpower. Mind reader. You could work for the government and go to big negotiations for the UK government with America, and they're all sat there smiling, and then you whisper in the ear of the Prime Minister, "This is all. It's a trap. It's a trap. They're trying to mug you off." Be good. I'd like that. There's probably better superpowers as well. I've done the Alan Partridge series, McBlain. Who would you be for a whole day? I find that a little bit weird. I wouldn't want to be anybody else other than me for a day. It feels rapey almost, weird. You're taking control of somebody else. Imagine if somebody could do that and they took over me for a day. I'd feel violated. The next day you get yourself back. Oh, I can't believe what you were doing yesterday. Oh, God, no. No. I don't like it. Favourite fast food? Mood dependent. I had an Indian on Saturday night. I really wanted it. The Saturday night a couple of weeks ago, I really wanted a Chinese. The Friday before that, I really wanted fish and chips. It's mood dependent for me. There will be a United Stand versus AFTV rematch, yes. We've got the trials coming up very soon. And somebody's asking when it will be live streamed. I don't know. Anthony O'Neill, I think it would be, if I had a tenner in your pocket on a Saturday night after a big, huge, massive bag of cans, what would you buy? For me, I think I've said this before. When I used to go out into town, whether it's Nottingham, Dublin, Birmingham, wherever, I'm a bit of an antisocial twat at the end of the night. I'll have so much to drink, and then I just need to be me. I need to be Goldbridge. But no, what I do, obviously if I'm out with the wife and that, I've got to go in with her. But if I'm out with the lads, I like to just piss off at the end of the night. I'll go, that's me, I'm off. And I wander off and I'll just find, I'm pissed out my face, but I'll find a kebab house. And if I'm in Birmingham, I know the one to go to, or when I used to live in Dublin. But if it's in a city, we're just there, whatever, you've got to find it. They've knocked the one down in Birmingham I used to go to, which is a shame. They should put a plaque up there. Mark Goldbridge used to have a kebab and chicken kebab, meat and chips here. But anyway, very, very drunk, end of the night, say goodnight to the lads, off out, find the kebab house. I want chips with chicken kebab meat, please. What sauce? Both tomato and mayonnaise, and give me a can of give me a can of Vimto, please. And then I get it. Don't take it out. Sit at one of the tables. Not really bothered about anybody around me because I'm in my own world. Anything could be going on. I'm in my own world, and just sit there. Open up the can of pop. Get one of them plastic forks and just work your way through it. Lovely, absolutely lovely. And on that bombshell, that's got me feeling hungry. But I haven't had one in ages. Chicken kebab meat and chips with ketchup and mayonnaise. Oh, lovely. Lovely stuff. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Go drop a like on video. Get your comments in below. Good topics again. Really, really enjoy these shows. And I'll speak to you all soon.